Chapter 16, Gifts. 6 months later, Wanyanyekevu was asleep on his air mattress when Letzi awakened him. Sabaoth is pleased with the dedication of his children. He has helped them learn because the next task of their journey is quickly coming upon them. For the next 2 weeks, they need to learn their gifts and how to use them. They must recognize it for themselves for them to appreciate them. Today, eat and meditate, for Sabaoth's gifts are given. Wanyanyekevu woke up everyone. Today, we will not jeûn but meditate. They had looked forward to training, but at the same time, it truly relieved them. Thinking it was a surprise for them, because Wanyanyekevu was acting mysterious, they kept their guards up anyway, just in case it was a trick. They prepared to go out to fish. Jom had got so caught up in his training that he was constantly meditating. Even now, he was thinking about how he met Wanyanyekevu and how his brother was fussing about him trying to touch the bubble's wall. "How are you doing that, Jom?" said Jonathan. Jom turned to Jonathan. "Do what?" Jonathan said. "Wait." Jom looked around at everyone's faces and saw a look of awe on their faces. Jom said to them, "What?" Jonathan ran to his tent, grabbed a mirror, and returned to Jom. "Look," he said. To his amazement, he had Wanyanyekevu's body, face, hands, everything. He was Wanyanyekevu. Jom quickly stopped thinking, and he returned to himself. Jonathan said, "You did me too." Jom thought about Jonathan. He changed into Jonathan, and quickly changed back to himself. "How did I do that?" Jom said, looking at Wanyanyekevu. Wanyanyekevu said, "This is your gift from Sabaoth." Looking at the rest, he said, "Continue to meditate, and your gift will manifest." Jom stood fishing, smiling and laughing. He changed back to Wanyanyekevu, looked at Wanyanyekevu. Truly, Sabaoth is able. A cold then hot feeling rushed through Jom's entire body. Then all of a sudden, he started saying things that no one understood. Jom looked at Wanyanyekevu to ask him what was happening, and Wanyanyekevu did a dance and started speaking another language as well. He stopped and told Jom to continue as Sabaoth blessed him. Wanyanyekevu spoke to the rest. "This is the sign that Sabaoth has accepted you and given you your true indication of his acceptance to speak in other tongues, or enlightenment." Jonathan and Daniel were fishing, while the rest were scattered in different directions as they meditated and gathered beans and berries. Mercy was singing and collecting berries. Her singing made her happy while grabbing a berry she couldn't quite reach. Then, suddenly, she heard her basket drop, but she had the berry in front of her eyes, but was larger. She looked from side to side and saw this long object in front of her face. She stopped. "Joy, how did I get up here?" Surprised, Joy shouted, You're a bird!" Mercy laughed and quickly came down the tree, but unknowingly, she was a snake slithering down the tree. Clapping her hands, Joy told Mercy, "Do it again." Every time Joy clapped her hand, she saw sparks coming from her hands. She held her hand up, and electricity went out of her hands like lightning bolts. Excited, she pointed to Elisha. "Elisha!" she shouted, and a bolt of lightning shot from her hand, and headed toward Elisha. Elisha held up his hand as he saw the lightning racing toward him. But it hit a force field and exploded on impact. Elijah was fishing and heard everything so far away, came running to see what all the excitement was about. "I heard you all the way over there by the lake," said Elijah. Elisha replied, "How is that possible?" Before Elijah could say a word, Joy pointed to the east. "What is that cloud of dust coming from?" Wanyanyekevu was approaching them. "That's Grace. She just ran 15 miles around the entire lake in 3.2 seconds. Jonathan was walking toward everyone, holding Daniel by the hand. "It seems like everyone has received their gift except Daniel and me," Joan said to Jonathan. "If that's you holding Daniel's hand, you have received yours as well, for we cannot see you." Daniel looked at Jonathan. He felt his hand, but he was not there. Daniel smiled, saying, "You're invisible." Wanyanyekevu was very proud and looked at everyone. "Your gifts are manifested, and Sabaoth is pleased." As he continued, suddenly, Everyone was dancing and speaking in new tongues. An hour went by before everyone stopped. Waninyekova said, "For the next 2 weeks, you are to perform a holy jeûne on your own and perfect your gifts until we hear a word from Sabaoth. But know this, your skills and your gifts go hand in hand. If you perform your skills without your gift, you are a man. If you perform your skills as you perform your gift, you are 10 times a man because Sabaoth has given you these gifts, and you are with Sabaoth. Sabaoth is with you. Spiritual gifts, a spiritual person, then we must fight in the spirit." Looking confused by his words, and before anyone could ask a question, Waninyekova said, I know. I went through it as well. Sabaoth will show you what I mean as he showed me." The following day, everyone was practicing with their gifts and Waninyekova was near his tent, meditating. "Everyone has their gifts, but I do not," Daniel said with a sad look on his face. "Is it because I am young?" As Waninyekova sat up, he said, "Age has nothing to do with it. Sabaoth blesses whom he chooses." Waninyekova sat on his bed and asked, "Why this look of disappointment? Your gift has come. Is it not already here? For did I not hear you spoke with new tongues yesterday?" They began walking down a path, and Daniel became angry. "Yes, but I don't know what it is. I can shoot this weapon." He fired 3 shots in the air as he continued. "I can throw this star." Throwing the star at a cactus, he hit it dead center, knocking off a berry. "I can run 5 miles and fight with the best." Waninyekova looked at Daniel. "And you just killed that eagle, flying above with that careless shot." The bird came hurling down to earth just a few yards near them. Daniel started crying as he rushed to the bird. No, he cried. "I didn't mean it." He held the bird, and after a moment, the wound started pushing out the bullet, and the bird was healed instantaneously and flew off. Daniel sat there crying and laughing at the same time. Waninyekova smiled. "See, your gift is to heal, now let's see what else you can do." Daniel ran off with joy and excitement as he ran to tell everyone as Waninyekova went back to meditate. Before the day had ended, Waninyekova gathered everyone together. "Enjoy your gifts and use them wisely, but never be jealous of someone else's gift, or your gift will be taken away. Is a horse jealous of a fish because it can swim? Neither is a fish jealous of a horse, because it can run at great speed. Neither should you be jealous of another's gift. They make up one body with many members." After a week of practicing and getting familiar with their gifts, Waninyekova gathered the group together. "Kumbi!" he shouted. "To be as one, we need to know each other's strengths and weaknesses, so what is it that Sabaoth has blessed you with?" Seeing Daniel eager to tell his ability, smiling, he pointed to him. "What is your gift?" Daniel stood up. "I have the gift to heal, but the more I heal, the weaker I get. I can only heal if it's still alive. My ability does not work on the dead." Waninyekova said. "Interesting." Joan, sitting next to Daniel, stood up. "I can alter my appearance to look like anyone that I think about, as well as become invisible. However," he grabbed Mercy's hand, "me and Mercy have tried, but we cannot duplicate each other's gift." Mercy continued. "True, I can only be animals that I think about, but I cannot alter myself to look human at all." Waninyekova said. "Also, interesting." Jonathan stood up. "I have the gift of invisibility for only an hour. However, I can turn visible for a second and return invisible for my time to start all over again." Waninyekova shook his head. Next. Elijah and his sister Grace stood up. Elijah said, "I can hear at very long distances. Me and Grace tested how far I can hear, and it's 2 miles, and she was whispering at that." Grace said, "He being modestly, I believe he can hear maybe 2.5 miles, but we are still working on it." Smiling at Elijah as she continued, "My gift is speed. I can travel 900 miles per hour without being tired or even breaking a sweat. What's so amazing is that it just seems like I'm jogging, except things are passing by me mighty fast." Jonathan interrupted. "The speed with which she is going, plus the velocity velocity being the rate of change of the position of an object, equivalent to a specification of its speed and direction of motion. Wanyanyekova interrupted him. In plain English, remember when you asked me almost a year ago, today? Now you speak English? Everyone laughed as Jonathan continued. Yes, I remember, but I have come a long way since then. Wanyanyekova was laughing as he interrupted Jonathan. We can't see you sometimes. Now I wish we couldn't hear you. Everyone laughed, including Jonathan. Jonathan cleared his throat. Your first real joke, good one too. Sorry. In English, Grace, with her speed, could kill an elephant just by tapping it lightly. And there are many other qualities associated with her speed. Shaking his head, and getting serious, Wanyanyekova said, You and Alicia work with her on the other aspect of her speed that she is comfortable with. Wanyanyekova, looking amongst the crowd. Anyone who is confused with their abilities, check with these two for help. Joy stood up. I think mine and Grace's gift can be enhanced when working together. I can conduct electricity somewhat of a supercharger, if you will. According to Alicia and Jonathan, I can produce over 150,000 or more amps. We are still working on it. Alicia stood up. I can create a force field at least 15 feet high in front of me or create a dome 15 feet in diameter. So far, I and only I can discharge objects out of the field, but nothing we have tried can penetrate it. Wanyanyekova stood up, shaking his head. Sabaoth is able. I'm very pleased to hear of your findings, as Joam and Jonathan already know, but the rest do not. My gift is that I know if one is lying, or simply, I can read a person's heart, and I have a second gift as well. I can see into the future up to 10 minutes, but during the jeûne and our training. Now I see ahead of time as I please. Before, it would only appear in visions when danger was about to happen. They stood there discussing their gifts, when suddenly, in the middle of nowhere, they were surrounded by thousands of Anakataas. Wanyanyekova, confused and shocked because he had not seen it in his vision, shouted, Iwa! Everyone formed a circle with their backs against each other. Wanyanyekova shouted, Impi! There he saw a figure moving toward them. When the figure reached the front, it was Mletsi, and the Anakataas disappeared. Please sit. Jonathan fell to the ground, sobbing like a baby. Everyone looked at him. Mletsi said, Leave him, for Sabaoth is dealing with this man for a special reason. He stopped and blessed Jonathan by touching him on the head and whispering in his ear. After a moment, he continued, The time for battles nears, and Sabaoth has truly prepared you all for what is coming. For the next 6 months, now that they have received their gifts, it's time to teach them what Yael and I have taught you. After that, you shall see blood and death until you enter Tucson. After Pointe you must leave this place and journey to Roper Lake in Cactus Flats, Arizona. You will not see me again until you arrive at that location. Letzi disappeared. Wanyanyekova and the rest of the warriors discussed what they had seen that day before they prepared for the next day, and they all rested. Wanyanyekova laid down for the night and wrote, I realized. It would seem hard, so one might think, but yet and still. I ask, why are there so many questions about life with very few answers? There are some who put their trust in others, then I realized. I realized this, not for you, but for myself. There will never be any more answers. And if there are, they will be made up of men. By men. So I thought. Yeah, searched my heart. Not man's word, for they perish. Not philosophy, for it's just playing with words. Not law, for man's laws, it's so perverted. You see, I realized. And you just might not, especially at this time. It's not something on your mind, but when you do, will you humble yourself or simply call it craziness? May your help come. Many think that this help, that I got, is not. I realized that greater is he that is in me than he who rules the world. For he who rules with pearls, greed, hatred, anger, and lust. I realized pearls for the values it brings. That money that it creates causes greed. And greed causes hatred, then anger. Yes, I say, then lust is conceived. I can go on and on, But to understand me is to understand he who sent me. To many it sounds strange, but hell, I'm peculiar. To the mind of the carnal, even he that is flesh, is just that. Flesh. But let me say, he that is of the Spirit can see the power, the glory, forever. Amen. I realized, after I searched my heart, did my part. I found that every man is a liar, and only one is the truth. So, until you find that power, that glory, life will be confusing to you. Hard, and let's not forget painful. Open your heart, open your eyes. So you can say, hey, I realized. Jonathan gathers everyone together. The day before or a few days before, I can't remember. Anyways, before we came to Las Cruces, I was a bit of a jerk. Wanyan told me something about a wolf. He said, if you teach a wolf to be a dog all of its life, would it not know how to be a wolf? Deep inside, the dog would know something is wrong, but it would never know unless it is told that it is a wolf. A day or two after meeting your family, no, it was the night that we heard the great explosion, the night after your father's death. I had a dream that was so real, a vision if you will, and in it, I was back home in South Carolina. I saw myself as a stray dog begging for bread, being kicked around by Kompyutans and surrounded by prostitutes, pimps, drug dealers, and the like. After a while, I started hating myself and hating Kompyutans. I started biting everyone so no one would kick me around again until everyone feared me. Then an old man looked at me and said, are you finished? He grabbed me, took me into the forest, and told me to choose a group to live with. I saw bears, I saw snakes, I saw wolves, and I saw dogs. I picked the dogs, but I was useless and didn't have anyone to fear me. So, I started leading a pack of dogs and killing off the rest of the animals. But I couldn't kill the pack of wolves. I tried but was unsuccessful, and the old man returned and took me by the river and told me to look at myself, and I looked into the river. I saw a dog, but the old man took a stick, hit the waters, and told me to look again. I was a wolf. That old man was Mletsi. He paused, wiping the tears from his eyes. Yesterday, Mletsi whispered in my ear, you are now a wolf. Wanyan looked at Jonathan. You are a wolf now, back then, you were an asshole. Everyone looked at Wanyan with shock and laughter. Jonathan laughed. Now, that's the best one yet. They said karma is a bitch. They talked for hours before they trained in Point de Dieu. Now more spiritual than carnal, they could understand and complete the training efficiently. 1.5 years at that location, they walked in as children and came out as Sabaoth's warriors, and during that time, Wanyan wrote a series of poems before he left. Now 20 years old and with a new family, he felt very close to the group and wanted to share his thoughts, his poetry. Please gather around for a little of some of the poetry I have written. The group gathered together as he said, meditation. Meditation, concentration, consecration. We as believers do things of this nature to increase our faith. But there are times when you don't feel this way. You're the sons, daughters of a king. It was said, let us create man in our own image. That's why some say we are gods. We are a dynasty, an empire that has been beaten down. Tired, even frustrated at this life. Yes, even with the pain. Your faith is being tested. Your patience has to grow, has to glow. A fool believes God isn't there. A fool thinks God doesn't care. But the only thing that helps me understand is consecration, concentration, and meditation. He read, look ka here, look ka here. Look ka here, look ka here. A place beyond the sphere. Streets of gold, and fear is never near. Love is everywhere. Peace and serenity, whispers from the trees into my ears. No evil, darkness, pain. No cries from the eyes that you love so dear. Holy, holy, holy is all you hear. Look ka here, look ka here. And finally he read, if I only knew then what I know now. Remembering my youth, there were so many questions in my mind. Talked to so many people, asking them, why? Many didn't give an answer, for they were asking the same questions. So, I chose to ask the elders. They answered some, but not all. Some of the answers puzzled me. Through time, a lot of the answers appeared to me. If I only knew then what I know now. Nature, women, education, money, and history. A list of the few things that puzzled me. They were on my mind at that particular time. Love, hatred, jealousy, and envy. So many questions, but not enough answers. If only I knew then what I know now. Would it have made me a better person, today? Wanyan closed his notepad. Jonathan walked off. Man, don't nobody want to hear that shit. I thought you was finna tell us something deep. Wanyan looked at Jonathan, seeing that he was joking, smiled, and opened his notepad up again, flipping through a few pages, saying, "This is the last one. Stuck on stupid." Jonathan said, "Hold on now." Wanyan laughed. "Is a hit dog hollering? Tell you what, let me read it and let them decide it." Jonathan gave him a look. "Oh, okay." Walking through the countryside to ease my mind about these times that are at hand. The silly demands of humans, of men. Everyone's path is not the same. Everyone that calls on his name, are they not really serious? Or is it only for monetary gain? To each individual, it's a different thing. My weaknesses are not your weaknesses. So how can you endure my pain? Throughout my journey, I've experienced things that I did not know. I now know. I did the things I was told. But their judgments, their decisions were not my own. This is why I feel the way I feel. Yes, I do the things I do at this time. Dealing with the many things in life that we all must consider before it's the end of time. Love, faith, hope, and beliefs, just the things only I, consider wrong and right. I've seen death a total of 3 times. The sight was enough to change my mind. You see, as a youth I always listened to the men of old, hanging on the corner drinking. You know those kinds. They knew something I didn't, they were willing to share. I listened to them when I was there. They were older than I, they had something I wanted. Knowledge. Many said, "Don't hang with those men." But the things that they said made me who I am. I was confused until I realized that life they lived was not for them. It was not for me. It was not mine. Had to sit still long enough to see. Yes, something that made a little more sense to me. I couldn't open my mind to breathe. Open my mind to see. At first, I was concerned, a little thug of a lesser degree. I wasn't trying to be greedy, just pay the bills. One thing led to another, ran to a new way. I wanted to be a helper, a guide. So, one day, when I have my son, he wouldn't see the thing that I have seen through my eyes. I wanted a lover, wanted someone to be a mother. Nowhere to really to call home, I still was pretty much on my own. But there was friends and family who had my back. I needed something to do in my spare time, so I started writing my ideas, my thoughts, on paper. Maybe someone will read them later. I didn't notice, but someone had stopped to stare. She opened her mouth. I loved what came out. So, I inquire of her. If she was true, could this be the mother? Hell, even a lover. Because of her, I'm saying this to you. At an age, now, to settle down. From such a long journey. I've traveled far and wide. Traveling in search of the 3 keys, as wide as the deep blue sea. Searched, I needed someone to comfort me. Assist me, help me, and confront me. Who was sent by the Almighty above, some might say Cupid, cause until now, I was stuck on stupid. Jonathan looked at Wanyan. I love it. As he looked at Joy. Yeah, I was stuck on stupid.